Alright, let's dive into something that's been making waves across Europe recently. Imagine this: Spain gives Italy a 2-day ultimatum to lift border checks on Spanish travelers. Sounds like a plot twist in a political thriller, right? But this is real, and it's happening right now. What makes this really interesting is the context behind it. A migrant rush in Ceuta, a tiny Spanish enclave in North Africa, has sparked a diplomatic standoff between two major EU countries. Personally, I think this situation is a perfect example of how local events can snowball into international crises, especially when emotions and politics are running high. Here's the deal: Italy reintroduced border checks on travelers from Spain after thousands of migrants entered Ceuta. Now, Spain is calling this move unjust and discriminatory. One thing that immediately stands out is the irony here. Spain argues that none of the migrants who entered Ceuta were allowed to move freely within the Schengen area because Ceuta has a special status. So, why punish Spanish travelers? What this really suggests is that Italy's decision might be more about domestic politics than actual security concerns. If you take a step back and think about it, this could be Italy's way of flexing its muscles ahead of elections or deflecting attention from its own migration challenges. What many people don't realize is that Italy has been under immense pressure due to its own migrant influx. According to Frontex data, Italy has seen some of the highest numbers of irregular crossings in the EU, sometimes double Spain's figures. From my perspective, this adds a layer of complexity to the situation. Spain is essentially calling out Italy's hypocrisy, pointing out that Italy itself has been breaching EU regulations and shifting the burden onto other member states. This raises a deeper question: how much solidarity can we expect within the EU when countries are so quick to point fingers instead of working together? A detail I find fascinating is Spain's reminder that it never imposed border controls on Italy, even when Italy was struggling with migrant arrivals. Spain even showed solidarity by taking in migrants from Lampedusa and opening its ports to those rescued in the Mediterranean. In my opinion, this highlights a stark contrast in how countries handle crises. While Spain seems to be taking the high road, Italy's response feels more reactive and self-serving. What this implies is that the EU's unity is being tested, and not for the first time, by member states prioritizing national interests over collective solutions. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture. This standoff isn't just about border checks or migrants, it's about the fragility of the Schengen area and the Dublin Regulation. These are the cornerstones of the EU's migration and border policies, and when countries start bending or breaking the rules, it undermines the entire system. Personally, I think this is a wake-up call for the EU to rethink how it handles migration and internal disputes. If member states keep acting unilaterally, the whole idea of a borderless Europe could start to unravel. What makes this even more intriguing is Spain's accusation that Italy is stoking divisions for domestic electoral motives. This isn't just a diplomatic spat, it's a reflection of how populist politics can hijack international relations. In my opinion, this is a dangerous trend we're seeing across Europe, where short-term political gains take precedence over long-term stability and cooperation. If this continues, it's not just Spain and Italy that will suffer, the entire EU project could be at risk. So, where does this leave us? Spain has threatened to take proportionate measures if Italy doesn't back down, but what those measures are remains a mystery. One thing's for sure: this situation is far from over. As someone who's been following EU politics for years, I can't help but feel this is a symptom of deeper issues within the bloc. The question is, will this be a turning point that forces the EU to address its flaws, or just another chapter in its ongoing struggle to stay united? Before I wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought: how much can we rely on international agreements when countries are so quick to abandon them in times of crisis? Is the EU's commitment to unity and solidarity strong enough to weather these storms, or are we seeing the beginning of its fragmentation? Let me know what you think in the comments below. This is a conversation that's far from over, and your perspective could add a whole new dimension to it. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more insights into the stories shaping our world.